Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the altcoins in the market because we've been talking a lot about MicroStrategy, a lot about Bitcoin, a lot about the overall halving cycle since the Bitcoin halving began, which we are now in this critical zone about basically when I'm recording this video in September of 2025. We're about less than 30 days from the historical top in the last two cycles. And so are we going to see this historical top again at this time frame, 18 months after the Bitcoin halving? Are we going to get an alt season? Because although we did get a lot of movement to the upside in 2024, and even at the end of 2024, 2025 has been quite, underwhelming for the most part in most of alt season. And so in today's video, we're going to be exploring some of the altcoins. We're going to be exploring some of the narratives, and we're going to also kind of understand where we are in the cycle, because in my view, we are towards the end. And yes, people are going to be disappointed. Yes, people are not going to get the moves that they anticipated in many cryptos or stocks or other types of assets that they've been expecting. I mean, just look at the gold crowd. They're talking about doubling the price for the last 10 years, and the price still hasn't doubled. So it doesn't matter what market you're in, there is going to be this euphoria at the end of the cycle that people feel like the market owes it to them because last cycle this, because this cycle that. At the end of the day, the market in front of us is the market we should be trading, not the market that we want. In today's video, we're going to be exploring altcoins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. We upload every single day right here on the channel to bring you the latest happening in the financial world, so hit that subscribe button. Sometimes we do macro videos like we're doing today about many different assets, and sometimes we do deep dives into individual cryptos or stocks or other assets to understand, are these good investments for our portfolio? So join the channel if you haven't already done so. And let's get into today's topics. Now, one of the largest Bitcoin or crypto exchanges, Bitfinex, is saying altcoin season will not start until more crypto ETFs launch. Now, this is a very interesting topic to discuss because in my view, they are going to be approved, right? We have a very crypto-friendly SEC, very crypto-friendly CFTC, regulators in general at this point. And so I think that we are going to see these ETFs get approved. Now, how this is going to impact the market? Well, let's first see what Bitfinex is saying. Altcoins may not see a broad outsized rally until the approval of crypto ETFs that give investors exposure further down the risk curve, according to analysts at the firm. They said that in a markets report that they don't anticipate a rising tide lifts all boats environment until later in the year when inflows into Bitcoin products regain momentum and new investment vehicles for altcoins are introduced. They added, these products are likely going to generate sustained price agnostic demand, creating the conditions for a broader re-rating across the digital asset complex. Now, here's the deal. If this would have occurred last year in 2024, I would be totally on board with what Bitfinex is saying, because I would agree. I mean, we saw with the Bitcoin and not so much the Ethereum ETF, but the Bitcoin ETF, this really drove the price up. I mean, Bitcoin went from 15,500 in the bear market to where we are today at all-time record highs at $125,000, right? And maybe we're going to go a little bit higher than that, who knows? But bottom line is the market has still performed. Now, if you bought at $100,000 and because you expected the market to go to $500,000, well, that's on you. The market bottomed at 15,500. So from 15,500 to 125 is about 7 or 8x. That's a really good return in any asset. But again, we're in the end stages of the cycle, so people are getting greedy. That's not enough. They need 100x like last cycle and the cycle before that and the cycle before that. But guys, that's not going to occur. In my view, the actual ETF approvals and then launches is going to be the trigger for the bear market. This has happened every single cycle. No other YouTuber talks about this, and most influencers have no idea that this like even occurred. But in 2017, they launched Bitcoin futures. Guess what happened the day after? Market went down and continued to go down into the bear market. It never recovered from that point. Then in 2021, Gary Gensler's SEC approved Bitcoin futures again. because, by the way, during the bear market, they shut down the futures because they weren't making any money because the market already bottomed. So they shut it down. They restarted it in 2021. In October, it got approved for launch in November. And guess what happened to the market in November? Boom, straight down. And so this idea that the ETFs are going to magically create demand for these assets, no, guys, this is already priced in. It's already priced in. Solana, $200, right? It keeps hitting this 250, 260 level, right? All-time record highs for Solana. People think like just because the ETFs are going to be launching, it's going to create instant demand. No, everybody who's been buying for the last couple of years and all of Wall Street investors and these billionaires, because remember, Solana was built by and for the billionaires. So the billionaires, a lot of them still haven't cashed out. And they think that we're going to $300, $400, $500, or they just have so much Solana that they can't dump it on the market because then the price is going to go down. The market will sniff those large sales out, as we've seen with every other ecosystem. And so if, or let me rephrase, once the ETFs launch and Solana launches, right, all the money that's coming into the market, it's the same thing like what's going on with XRP and Ripple selling their XRP on the open market, right? If an XRP ETF launches, the XRP army thinks it's the most bullish thing in the world, but who's going to be selling? Ripple selling directly to the ETFs is going to have no impact on the price. Actually, it'll be negative on the impact. Buy the rumors, sell the news. That's where we're at. So everybody's like, the market has already priced in the approval of these ETFs. It's already priced it in. And go look at the Ethereum ETFs before Tom Lee started Bitmine acquiring Ethereum and all these other strategic Ethereum companies. Before this occurred, Ethereum ETFs had almost no inflows, like very, very little, like double-digit millions, but very rarely. It was mostly single-digit millions. And a lot of days, there was no activity in the Ethereum ETFs. So this idea that just the approval is going to pump the price and all of Wall Street's going to be pouring in as tariffs are hitting, the Federal Reserve hasn't cut rates, the housing market is completely stagnant, right? All of these other economic issues are completely ignored because, well, the ETF's going to be approved. So because it's in my portfolio, that means that everybody in the world is going to want a Solana, and so the price is going to pump. No, guys. Buy the rumors, sell the news. The news is when it gets approved. All of the ETFs. And the fact that we have multiple ETFs, I think there's something like 96 crypto ETFs that are waiting to be approved, and they're probably going to all be approved in succession, like very, very close to each other. This is going to be, like, we may see upside. I'm not saying we're not going to have upside, right, in the short term, because again, when the ETFs launch or get approved, right, you'll probably see a bump in the price, and then people will say, see, Cryptoviser, you were an idiot. You're wrong. You're wrong. And I'm like, I'm not trading every hour, right? I'm trading on the macro scale. I'm looking at where are we going to be in 5 to 6 months from now? Where are we going to be in a year to 2 years from now? Where are we going to be in 5 to 10 years from now? That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking day to day or announcement by announcement, right? That's literally a pump and dump. And so what is the catalyst for alt season, right? And really the only thing that I've seen across the board is, well, it's owed to us, right? And then we start hearing about Chainlink and Cardano. And I'm like, this is the same thing that we've heard years ago. Like the same exact thing we heard years ago. We're going to get Chainlink, we're going to get interoperability, we're going to get all these bridges. None of it has occurred at all. Meanwhile, Chainlink is like in the spotlight right now, getting so much attention, so much love. But Cardano's talking about maybe we'll get it implemented. Well, one Cardano influencer said this will be controversial, but I always say things how I see it. Chainlink has made a move, hasn't made a move yet, and it's essentially the coin of the cycle. And we're going to talk more about Chainlink in just a minute, because I kind of agree with, there's something going on with Chainlink that is very interesting, and they're getting all the usage and adoption use cases that we've been wanting to see in all of crypto, for real. But Chainlink is at the center of everything crypto. It's also half the market cap of Cardano. I did not realize that, but if you look at the charts, it's right there, right? Cardano's market cap is almost $30 billion when I'm recording this video, beginning of September. Chainlink is 15 billion. That's half the valuation. And this is a huge gap between Chainlink and the rest of crypto. and Cardano and the top 10. It's a very interesting level here. But if you look at Chainlink, again, to what Dan is saying about it being the coin of this cycle, which I think that there's a big case for that to be the coin of the cycle. Why is it not moving? Why does it have half the valuation of Cardano, half the valuation of Tron? Like Tron, guys, okay, Dogecoin. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, Dan says, Cardano better start closing some deals. Integrate Chainlink, get Tether or USDC. I can see a lot of people begin to give up on ADA if we keep talking about doing things but never actually do them. Who cares how much it costs? Get the deals done. Cardano is at risk of being stuck in its own while the rest of the crypto space explodes. And forget about just from a price perspective, right? Because obviously the price is going to follow the fundamentals eventually. But this is a good point. I mean, we've been talking about Tether and USDC for years. And Chainlink, they've been talking about for years. The Cardano ecosystem just approved $70 million for development of the ecosystem. But they can't pay for Chainlink. They can't pay for USDC. They can't pay for Tether. And by the way, it may be too late to pay for it. That may have been 3 or 4 years ago. Now, there may be no shot. Because if they wanted to implement it, they would have. Over the last few years, Cardano has spent hundreds of millions of ADA for quote unquote development of the ecosystem. And yet the most basic interoperability features are not even integrated because of Chainlink's fault. It's Tether's fault. It's USDC's fault because they want too much money. Meanwhile, the ecosystem saying, oh yeah, we need $70 million so we can scale the network. But the network cannot scale without these things. And so again, we're at the end of another cycle. People are hoping and praying that things are going to occur at the end of the cycle, at the top of the market. And it's just not going to occur. At this point, if Chainlink wanted Cardano and if Cardano wanted Chainlink, it would be done. There's reasons that it's not implemented. I don't know what the reasons are. I'm not a developer on the ecosystems. I'm an analyst. So I'm looking at what is or what isn't. And Cardano doesn't have the interoperability features that people have been talking about for years. Tether, we don't want Tether. We don't need Tether. It's a centralized coin. USDC, they want too much money. We don't need it. We can't implement it. We don't need it. We have our own stable coins. Okay, well, look at where the network is. And so this means one of two things. It means one, Chainlink is highly, highly undervalued. Two, it means Cardano is highly, highly overvalued, or a combination of the two. And so either there's a puff of air under Cardano, there's a spring under Chainlink, or maybe we are just looking at these networks and the valuations of them differently than we've ever looked at them before. I think this bear cycle is going to be very, very interesting to see because a lot of the narratives, I think, are going to eventually fall in a lot of these cryptos that we're seeing. Because Sui can do all these things, Solana can do all these things. Meanwhile, what has Solana brought us this cycle? Everyone keeps saying, but Cryptoviser, it's not just the meme season for Solana. Solana's done so much more. I'm like, what? It's done meme coins and celebrity coins that have been rug pulls, pump and dumps. XRP Army. Oh, well, Ripple's cleared in the lawsuit. Yeah, Ripple is cleared in the lawsuit. And so now what are they doing? They're saying we are going to continue to sell our XRP on the open market every single month. And we're not going to stop. And this may work out for Ripple really well. I mean, it already is. Ripple is buying up companies around the world that are these payment rails. And so they're taking like small markets and they're buying up these companies. They're becoming like the god company of all these small little like payment rails around the world. But meanwhile, it has nothing to do with XRP. They're not forcing the usage of XRP on RippleNet, which still doesn't make sense to me. I still don't understand this. And that's another narrative that, you know, it's like, is XRP the success of Ripple, or are these complete separate things? To me, Ripple has made it very clear. Brad Garlinghouse specifically has made it very clear. Ripple is not XRP. So if you're investing in XRP, you're not investing in Ripple or the Ripple companies or the Ripple infrastructure. You're investing in XRP, the coin, which, by the way, Ripple continues to sell. So that's where we're at in the cycle. And everybody's so bullish. Everybody is so bullish. It just doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, I agree with Chainlink being the coin of the cycle. And by the way, again, just another example of if Cardano really wanted to get Chainlink implemented, or vice versa, Chainlink wanted to get Cardano implemented, it would be done. It would be done by now. It's not like Cardano just launched. Meanwhile, World Liberty Finance, the native governance token of World Liberty Fi, is now officially transferable cross-chain, secured by Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol with day one support. Day one support. So Cardano's ecosystem can't afford the integration, but World Liberty Finance, which hasn't even launched yet, can? I don't get it. Cardano is double the valuation of Chainlink. So why would Cardano not be able to pay this? Or why would they not want to pay this? I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to the question, but from an investability standpoint, I mean, do I want to invest in Cardano or Chainlink, Solana or Chainlink, XRP or Chainlink? I mean, it seems like the answer should be clear. I mean, even if you think that XRP should be at this valuation, Cardano and Solana should be at this valuation, fine. Let's go with that. That still means that the Chainlink is highly, highly undervalued. And so what would be the play here? To buy more Cardano, more Solana, more XRP, or buy Chainlink? Obviously, that would have to, go within your portfolio and figuring out. But yeah, Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability metrics. By the way, I've been right about this in the Cardano ecosystem as I was with USDC. If they would have gotten USDC integrated years ago and paid the money, whatever the money was, $20 million, it would be a whole different story for Cardano by now. But they still don't do it. And they're not going to. That's the thing. Like, there is going to be, like, to the influencers over here, there is going to be no Chainlink integration. There is going to be no USDC or Tether integration. They would have done it already. It's not like they don't have the resources to do it. They could do it. They're not doing it. So that means Chainlink doesn't want it, or Cardano doesn't want it, or a combination of the two. Why? I have no idea. It doesn't make sense. Because look, there's 59 chains on cross-chain interoperability protocol on Chainlink. 59, including chains that just launched, including chains that we've talked about, including the Corn chain, the Botnix chain, even Kronos is on it, Gnosis, Hashkey chain, the Hemi chain, Hedera is there. We got Mantle chain. We got the OP mainnet. Polygon, Ronin. I mean, look at how many chains. Shibarium is on there. The Shiba Inu coin is connected to Chainlink, but Cardano is not. XRP is not. Explain to me what that, like, how, I don't get it. I don't get it. And then obviously all the different tokens, 159 different tokens. And you can see right here on their dashboard, $39 billion of total cross-chain value. This is the total value of all cross-chain tokens measured in dollars, utilizing the fully diluted value. The cross-chain interoperability protocol transferred $4 billion in volume, and they've collected $1.375 million in fees. It doesn't say over what time frame, so that's interesting. But yeah, you can see the transfer volume has steadily increased since 2024, and it's going to continue to steadily increase. So why any ecosystem wouldn't want this? I don't know. I can't tell you. Meanwhile, in other ecosystems, there's more infighting. So this user said, I never call anyone out because I'm just not that kind of person, but this is awful look for Litecoin, which is one of the first cryptos I ever bought. XRP holders will be laughing last and the longest. And so now there's like real rivalry between these ecosystems. Litecoin posted on X. Fun fact, a comet smells like rotten eggs, urine, burning matches, and almonds. Most scientists say the closest comparison to this phenomenon on Earth is the idea that tokens called XRP would be sold off to retail investors, with the illusion that a digital bank drive-up tube is worth more than the money it transfers back and forth. because there are only so many tokens in existence, and everyone will want one because the banking systems of the world have been quietly making deals for over a decade to make XRP the replacement for Swift, and the president is sleeping with Brad Garlinghouse. Whoa. I mean, obviously, this is a joke. It's a joke. I get people are probably annoyed by this. But at the end of the day, like, there is something to say. Like, the banks are not really interested in XRP or Ripple, really. I mean, but Ripple, like I said, they're buying small companies that are payment rails or small, like, credit union type banks around the world. And so there is something to say if they're buying the bank and then the bank is utilizing the RippleNet. Obviously, that's kind of in line with what they've been saying they're going to do. But again, I don't understand where the XRP army believes that Ripple is using XRP. The same thing that I was just saying with Cardano. If they wanted Tether, they would get Tether. If they wanted USDC, they would get it. If they wanted Chainlink, they would get it, right? If Ripple wanted to use XRP as the coin that drives the network, they would have done it. They would have forced the usage of on-demand liquidity, ODL, which is what uses XRP. They would force the usage of it on all of their systems. They haven't done that yet. Maybe they will, and that would be really bullish for the ecosystem, but they haven't done that just yet. Meanwhile, we're continuing to see more movement from Bitcoin to Ethereum. $11 billion in Whale surpasses SharpLink with $4 billion Ethereum bet. A mysterious mega whale is rotating billions from Bitcoin into Ether, signaling a broader shift as corporate and institutional investors boost the Ethereum holdings. Now, we have been seeing this with a lot of big whale wallets where they're moving money from Bitcoin and then they're buying Ethereum, using DEXs, using different DeFi ecosystems. Now, what's interesting about this is you don't see this in a bear market. You don't see this type of movement really even in bull market. You just see it in the volatility stage, which in my view, the volatility is the movement from one phase of the market to the next. And so whether we're in euphoria, past euphoria, in complacency, or about to be out of complacency, all this movement, large movement of whales, of legacy wallets from Satoshi era, these are all indicators of people cashing out and people chasing the market. Now, chasing the market could be very profitable, right? Especially if you're in line with, your chase is in line with what the market does. But again, you have to be very, very disciplined in your approach of it, because you have to be able to pull out of the market very, very rapidly, depending on macroeconomic conditions. Again, going back to the Bitcoin halving tracker, this shows about, from when I'm recording this, less than 30 days to the historical tops of the market. And so any catalyst could drive the end, and that we will basically be going down until the bottom of the market, which we don't know when that is going to be. We may get little jumps here and there, but there will be a point where the high is not touched again for probably multiple years until we re-enter a bull market. And so that is something that there's a lot of risk there. Obviously, a lot of the whales are looking at what's happening with the Ethereum companies. And I think that they're onto something here, because my thesis has been that MicroStrategy is going to drop, and it's going to create, because they're the largest buyer, it's going to create a shift in attention away from Bitcoin and away from this kind of very risky asset that now, what if MicroStrategy sells? What if MicroStrategy continues to go down? What if they don't buy? All of that, along with the macroeconomic conditions. This will eventually cause people to exit Bitcoin and then chase Ethereum. So I do think that we are going to see much higher prices in Ethereum at some point. But again, this is going to be chasing. And so there's going to be a lot of speculation. This is not long-term holds here. This is speculating and moving on. So these whales that are pulling out of Bitcoin, they believe Bitcoin is topped. Okay? They're following the Cryptoviser podcast right here. So make sure you guys are subscribed. That way you never miss any new information that we have on where the market is and where the market's going. So they must have been watching my videos. So they're not stupid. They're getting out of Bitcoin. getting into Ethereum because they think there's going to be a shift as Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes up, meaning they believe that Bitcoin is already topped. You are not a whale. You don't have money from Satoshi Era wallets, but you are confident that the bull market hasn't even started. Okay, that makes no sense, right? These whales are selling because they believe the top is there, or they believe Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin going forward at this point. That may only last for a week. Like people are like Cryptoviser, there is no way Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin. It's like it may for 3 months, it may for 3 weeks, it may for 3 days. That's what they're hedging their bet on. They're betting that Bitcoin is going to go down, that Ethereum is going to go up, and then they're going to take profits. They're not even going to wait for $10,000 Ethereum. They're going to wait for double Ethereum. Well, I guess that's around $10,000 from where we are. But you guys kind of get it. They've been buying for the last couple of weeks from $3,000 to $4,000, maybe $4,500. So yeah, I guess a doubling from here would be $9,000, right? And everybody in the market is waiting for 10,000. And once we hit 5,000, then they're going to move their target to 15,000 or 20,000 or 25,000. So everyone's going to still be bullish no matter what price we're at. But these whales, they're buying in right now to let Bitcoin go down. They're going to wait till Ethereum goes up, maybe double to $9,000. They're going to pull their money out. They're going to go back to Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin potentially is going to go on a final run up. And then maybe they're going to take profits and then hold on the side. But again, there's so many people that are planning to do the same thing. Like I keep seeing video after video, social media posts after social media posts, TikTok, people saying, well, in November, the market is going to top out. So we're going to have to sell our crypto in November. And I'm like, so everybody and their mother, all the whales, all the speculators, all the insiders, all the MicroStrategy bulls, everybody at the same exact time on the same exact day, just very orderly is going to go into their stock brokerage account or their crypto account. And they're just going to very, very calmly go sell their crypto. And then we'll wait a few days and then we'll let the market fall after that. Nope, that's not the way the market's going to work. That's why I think these things are happening earlier and earlier in the cycle. And even if we do pop like in November, like people are saying, like, oh, we're going to top out in November. Let's say the top is $250,000. Okay. There's going to be so many people selling. There's orders already on the books right now where if we did go to 250, boom, those orders would be filled immediately. And so I don't think that we can get to these high numbers. And if we do, it's going to be on a quick spike. It's going to be one candle on the 1 hour chart, and then that's it. Because as soon as the market prices up like that, it's the same thing like in liquidation events, right? A melt down is the same way of a melt up. In the liquidation events on the way down, which there's going to be more liquidation events because more people are super long the market than ever before in crypto. And so the downtrend is going to be even worse than the uptrend. Earlier in the cycles, you can see that right here on the first cycle, we had such a massive squeeze to the upside because the price was so low, there was very thinly traded books. And so it was very easy to squeeze to the upside and squeeze to the downside. Now Wall Street's involved. You can't squeeze a $1 trillion asset or $2 trillion asset. It's very difficult to do. You need massive amounts of money to actually squeeze it to the upside, or squeeze it to the downside is really just liquidations, right? And that's what we see. You see these big traders in the market saying, well, I'm long 50x Bitcoin. And then the market makers, they're like, nope, we got to wipe that person out. And then they just go boom, and they sell some on the market. Pushes the market down, it liquidates them, it liquidates all the over leverage, and then we get back to the norm. And so these people who are saying, oh, I'm making all this money in the market, they're never showing you what they're losing. And the more that they bet, the further we go in the cycle, they keep losing more and more and more. And this is why on this channel, we talk about strategy, we talk about planning, we talk about like figuring out, what am I going to do in this scenario? What am I going to do in this scenario? What am I going to do in this scenario? If the market goes up, what am I going to do? If the market goes down, if the Federal Reserve doesn't cut rates, what if they do cut rates? What if they don't cut rates for another year? What are we going to do in the market? Because having those strategies allows you to say, whoa, we are at the end of the cycle. If I keep leveraging up to the upside, there's more downside risk than there is upside. And these people get liquidated. Like sometimes they're going to make $10 million on trading, right? And they're going to show it on their group and their, Discord, and they're going to, oh, I'm making so much money, right? Then they get liquidated. So they lose 10 million in one trade. One trade. And that's because they get overconfident and the market is going to clear them out, right? And so then they need to recover that money because they need to get back to what they $10 million. It's more money than they've ever had in their life. And so what do? They go and they take whatever money they have and they double down. And what happens if you go to a casino and keep doubling down? You may win, but if you keep doing it, you're eventually going to lose. And in these markets, being that we are at the top, at the end of the cycle, the downside risk is more than the upside risk. And there's so many people long the market, they can't even see the liquidation risk. We can. And so I'm not hoping these people get liquidated. They are going to get liquidated because they're too bullish. And so when they get liquidated, it creates a cascade of liquidations because then the price goes down, more liquidations, which are market sales, more price down, then more liquidations, more market sales, more price down. And then it just keeps happening. This is why we used to have circuit breakers, which was when the crypto exchanges would shut off. They would stop it to let the market kind of breathe. But they don't have that anymore. No more circuit breakers on the crypto exchanges. Now the circuit breakers are Wall Street. They are in control. And so understanding this and understanding where we are, there may not be an alt season. We had alt season last year and people are like, no, Cryptoviser, that wasn't alt season. It's like, no. We did have alt season. It may not have been the alt season you wanted, but it was alt season. So that's kind of where we're at. Anyway, there's a lot more stuff going on, right? Basically, crypto is one growth cycle away from mainstream adoption and 5 billion users. And we're hearing the same thing from Raoul Pal. Raoul Pal sees crypto users hitting a whopping 4 billion by 2030. He's predicting that market capitalization could reach $100 trillion within the next decade. So make Dr. Evil very, very annoyed that he only asked for $1 million in that movie. But anyway, the total number of crypto users could hit 4 billion mark by 2030 in an X post. Pal shared data comparing the adoption rate of crypto users to internet users after each innovation hit 5 million users. Pal did this by looking at the number of crypto wallets compared to the number of IP addresses, showing the difference between like internet adoption versus crypto adoption. And he's saying that crypto adoption is now outpacing what that was. He said the total crypto user base has grown 137% annually in 9 years and has reached 659 million users at the end of last year. In comparison, the total number of internet users hit 187 million by the end of 2000 at an annual growth rate of 76%, which is much lower. Well, this user said, actually, Raoul, they are both power laws, both the internet until 2020 saturation at 5 billion, and Bitcoin adoption have grown as power laws. You can see the curvature directly for both in the log linear plot. Bitcoin wallets have grown around t to the third power. Value grows nearly as the square of users, communication, and social networks, which is Metcalfe's law. And by the way, Raoul Pal has also talked about Metcalfe's law as well. But here's the deal, guys. None of these charts, none of these different things that Raoul Pal says or that Michael Saylor says or whoever says, doesn't matter. The cycle is the cycle is the cycle. We may go higher in certain cycles, we may go lower in certain cycles. Certain cycles may have different dates that we go to the upside, but the general theme that we're seeing is the same, guys. Everybody's super bullish. Anytime somebody's a little bit bearish or doesn't like your crypto, everybody's attacking you, right? Even the MicroStrategy bulls, they say, wait, why is Michael Saylor, why is he going to sell shares on the open market? And then they say, I'm selling my shares. And then the whole community's like, well, you need to leave. You're an asshole. Da, da, da. And it's like, whoa, like, why are you so concerned with my portfolio? Right? This is why on this channel, we've stopped talking about my portfolio. It doesn't matter what cryptos I'm holding or not holding. It doesn't matter what stocks I'm holding or not holding. What matters is that you are able to understand how these cycles work and are able to kind of formulate your own thesis. That's what this whole channel is about. This channel is not about buy this, buy this, buy this, right? Obviously, if you understand what my thesis is, you can kind of figure out I would say generally speaking, whether I'm bullish or bearish generally in the market. But even if I'm bearish on the market, does not mean that I'm not holding these assets. It doesn't mean that I'm betting against them, but it just means I'm not betting for them, right? Somebody not holding an asset, people are like, oh, everybody's missing out who doesn't buy Bitcoin. It's like, no, they're not. They could just buy it next week. Is it going to be a little bit more expensive? Yes, but so is a home, so is a car, so is everything. So there is no rush. And this idea that there's going to be no corrective phases is ridiculous. Wall Street wants corrective phases. Markets operate in corrective phases. And so that's where we're at in the cycle. I don't think it matters whether the Federal Reserve cuts rates or not, because that's already priced in. What isn't priced in is the money printing, and cutting rates is not money printing. Money printing is what Congress does. And Congress in September is supposed to be coming up with the budget. Now, whether they're going to pass it this year or they're just going to kick the can down the road and figure out something next year, that's what we have to look for. Because in 2020 at the pandemic, they printed $4 trillion over the course of like 3 months. And it took about a year for that to hit the market and us to see inflation, us to see the prices of assets going up. But the reason Bitcoin went up during that time period was because the inflation was occurring. So Bitcoin did hedge against the inflation. Once the inflation came down, Bitcoin came down as well. Very important to keep in mind. And by the way, when we get the inflation numbers year over year, you get it a year later, basically. And so the inflation was occurring in 2021, but we didn't get the numbers until 2022. So it looked like 2022 was the inflation, but it was 2021 when Bitcoin was going high. So when Bitcoin is moving to the upside, inflation is underway. And it may be underway right now, but we're not getting those numbers just yet. And the tariff impact hasn't necessarily been put into effect. And so this is what the Federal Reserve is all waiting for. And we'll have to see how it all plays out. Let me know what you guys think about everything that we talked about today, starting with Cardano and whether Cardano is going to get the Chainlink or USDC or Tether integration, or it's a done deal. I mean, I think it's a done deal. Like, again, if either party wanted to implement, they would have already done it. 20 million, 30 million at this point, the ecosystem has spent so much money that it's like, this shouldn't even be a question whether this gets implemented. And so in my view, one of the reasons that I have not gotten back into ADA is for that very reason, because they haven't implemented it in multiple years. And so why would I invest in that? XRP. I still don't understand how XRP price is going to go up when Ripple has a clear divide between Ripple and XRP. I'm not bearish this coin. I'm not bearish Ripple. As I've told my viewers many times, I think that anybody who bets against the Ripple ecosystem is going to lose because they historically accomplished everything they set out to do so far. But I can't see why this is. If Ripple goes public as an IPO, I would buy the stock, but I can't buy the XRP because there's no clear understanding of how the coin is at all integrated within the ecosystem, because it's not. And we talked about another coin as well. Litecoin we talked about. I mean, Solana we talked about. There's nothing that's making me say, wow, I need to go and invest in this. The usage and adoption cases are going to be increasing. It's not what we're seeing. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in September. My thesis has not changed. My viewpoints of the market may have changed. And I'm clearly still bullish on some of these cryptos. I think regardless, Chainlink, it will increase in value. And I think these other ecosystems will also decrease in value. Putting Chainlink, it should be in the top probably 5 cryptos in the world. It should be alongside Tether and USDC in terms of market capitalization and valuation. The fact that it's not just tells me that the market doesn't realize what's going on. And so that's what you want to bet. You want to place your bet when nobody realizes Chainlink is integrating at a very quick and rapid pace. Because when people start to realize, the price is already going to be moving higher. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts down below, where we are in the cycle, what's going on with these cryptos, what about the integrations, what about Ethereum, what about Bitcoin? Let me know in the comments down below. I really want to get your insight into where the market is. and what you would agree or disagree with on this video. I'll see you on the next video. Invest responsibly, do your own research, and crypto on.